Lie down on your back, knees bent, feet parallel, hip distance apart. Arms down by your sides, but I'm lifting them up here so that you can see my back. The very first concept is neutral spine. If your lower back is fully in contact with the floor, you are in a flat back position. If your lower back is too far off the floor, then your lower back is arched. Find somewhere in the middle where your lower ribs are down, your tailbone is as heavy as your lower ribs, then you are in neutral spine. Now, inhale through your nose and exhale out through your mouth. Feel your abdominal muscles sink down towards your spine and pull in towards the center of the body. Do it for a few times. This sinking down and pulling in action in your abdominal wall is the most important work in this exercise. You should feel a little tone in your abdominal wall. Your breath will help you to activate the deeper layer of your abdominal muscles, which is your inner core. Next exhale, let your abdominal wall sink and lift your left leg up. Inhale, lower your leg down. Other side. Abs down and in, then float your right leg up, then lower your leg down. Do this a few times, alternating your legs. You want your knee flow up to be on top of your hip. We call tabletop position. You don't want your knee too close to your chest or too far away, just right above your hip. The goal is to lift the leg without moving your pelvis or lower back. The timing is very important. Feel your abdominal muscles kick in before you move your leg. When you sink the abdominal wall, it activates the deeper layer of your abdominal muscles. It is a gentle toning sensation, not an intense burning sensation. This activation is what helps you to stabilize your pelvis and lower back, so you can move your leg independently. You should feel your leg light, your abdominal wall is toned, and your torso is very elongated. Breathing can help you maintain your neutral spine and activate your core. Feel how your back is in contact with the floor. Torso is elongated. The back of your lower ribs are on the floor whether you breathe in or out, whether you move your leg up or down. Your core muscles in your trunk is supporting the length of your torso, and your leg is fully moved in your hip joint. Bring your feet together. Put your hands on top of your pelvis to feel your pelvis when you move. On exhalation, sink your abdominal wall to open your left knee down towards the floor without moving the pelvis. Inhale, return to the center. Exhale, open your right knee towards the floor, then inhale, come back to the center. Do it for a few times. This is not about how far you can lower your knee. It's all about activating your abdominal muscles to stabilize your torso, especially the lower back and the pelvic area. Open the knee as much as you don't move your pelvis. Try not to let your pelvis or lower back move with your leg. You want to feel your abdominal muscles sink and toned to help you stabilize your pelvis and torso. This is to teach your body to move your leg without yanking your pelvis or lower back around. Allow your leg to move freely in the hip joint. If you don't feel too much in your abdominal wall, check your pelvis and lower back area to see if they are moving with your leg. Do it for a few more sets. Maintain your neutral spine and neutral pelvis. Keep your lower ribs in contact with the floor and breathe smoothly. Come down on your forearms and knees. Knees right underneath your hips and hands underneath your shoulders. Bring your hands together, your back is elongated. Your head is not too low or too high. You should not round your back or sink your chest. Your shoulder blades are very flat on your back. Inhale, glide your pelvis back towards your heels. And exhale, glide forward. Inhale, glide back without tucking your tailbone or rounding your back, and exhale, glide forward. When you glide back, your hands may come off the floor. Keep your armpits facing down towards the floor. Your head is in line with the rest of your spine. We will do it for a few sets. When you go back, try not to sink into your shoulder joints too much. Your shoulders should not feel stressed. Also, not to tuck your tailbone or round any part of your back. You just keep your neutral spine. Your spine is very elongated. There's no movement in the spine. The movement is mainly in the hip joints. If your hips are tight, try not to glide back as much. Now bring your weight even on your hands and knees. Inhale, glide your pelvis over to your right leg. Come back to the center. To your left leg, then come back to the center. Do it for a few sets. Your pelvis is gliding side to side. Your spine is elongated. You want your pelvis to be able to glide on top of either leg easily without too much defense. Sit back to your child's pose and rest a little bit. Now come forward to your hands and knees again. This time, wag your tailbone to the right, then center. Wag your tailbone to the left and center. Do it for a few sets. When you wag your tail, you are side bending your spine. So when you wag it to the right, your right hip moves closer to your right armpit. Wag it to the left hip is closer to your armpit. Once you are done, come back to your child's pose. Separate your hands apart on the floor, then move your knees away so that you can lower your pelvis down to level up with your shoulders. Now you are in a half plank position. You want to keep the front of your hips a little bit angled so they are in hip flexion. This will keep your spine and pelvis in neutral position to increase the connection in your core. Not to drop your head too low or lift it too high. Keep your spine elongated. Exhale, draw your abdominal muscles away from the floor and into your spine. Try not to over-recruit your obliques by rounding your back or letting go your abdominal muscles by arching your back. Your breath will intensify your core connection. Keep breathing. Lower yourself down onto the floor to take a quick break. We will do it again, but this time we're coming up to the half plank position from the floor, which is harder. So set your forearms on the floor and lift your chest, then lift your ribs and pelvis and hold it in your half plank position. Keep your spine and pelvis very neutral. Also watch your shoulder blade position. Not to pinch your shoulder blades in to retract your shoulder blades too much, or protract your shoulder blades too much to round your upper back. Shoulder blades are pretty flat and neutral on your back. Keep breathing. Then come down to your child's pose to rest. Bring yourself back up on your hands and knees. Walk your hands forward and press your pelvis forward to lengthen the front of your hips. Your head is not too low or too high. You are not sticking your tailbone back or dropping your ribs down to arch your lower back. Exhale, fold in your hips to sit back towards your heels. Inhale, going forward to your starting position. Exhale, moving back without tucking your tailbone. Inhale, moving forward without arching your lower back. Do it for a few sets. Like earlier on your forearms, this movement is mainly in the hip joints, not in your spine. So try not to arch your back when you go forward. Try not to round your back when you go back. It's all in your hips. Feel the front of your hips open when you go forward. Feel your legs bend deep in your hips when you go back. Keep your armpits facing down towards the floor, not out to the side walls, so your arm bones are well organized in your shoulder joints. Back and forth a few times. Let your hip joints move and stabilize in your lower back. Keep your back and pelvis neutral. Walk your hands to your knees and then arms straight by your hips with your palms face forward. Keep reaching your sits bones back towards the wall. Make sure you don't arch your lower back. Exhale, use your glutes to push your sits bones forward in a high kneeling position. Inhale, bend in the hips to the starting position. When you sit back and not to tuck your tailbone, keep your sits bones wide and reach towards the back wall. When you are high up on your knees, try to bring your hips forward in line with your knees and ribs. Not to lift your chin too high up to tense up your neck. This is like doing squats on your knees. Your hip bend so you are in squat position. Your hips lengthened so you are in the upright position. It's all in the hip joints and not in your lower back. Make sure your weight is even on both knees and both hips. Stay on high kneeling position. Inhale, lean your whole body back from your knees, arms forward. Exhale, return. Inhale, lean back. Exhale, return. Do it for a few sets. Make sure you are not arching your back. Keep your abdominal muscles engaged so your lower back is stable. You can use your hands to feel your connection in your core. You also don't want to sit back from your hips. The front of your hips stay elongated. Keep the length of your torso throughout the exercise. Now we are going to move your spine. Bring your hands behind your pelvis, palms face your pelvis, fingertips towards your tailbone. Inhale, reach your tailbone down, hands press your pelvis forward, your spine lengthen and move backward. Exhale, come back to starting position. Inhale, tailbone reach down, hands press your pelvis forward, spine lengthen and move backward. Feel your collarbones wide. Then come back to center. Before your spine moves back, you should allow your pelvis to go forward. The opening in the front of your hips will help your spine to move back. You want to feel your whole spine bending backwards smoothly, not just in your lower back area. You also don't want to lift your chin too high to tense up the back of your neck. Definitely not to stick your tailbone out, which will compress on your lower back. Tailbone reaching down, pelvis forward, spine backward. Shoulder blades retract, collarbones wide. This is a very nice exercise to finish your workout. Feel the opening in the front of your chest and hips, as well as the length in your spine.